Okay, in today's lesson we're going to talk about H1 tags and some color, because right now this is sort of where we left off with the web page from first lesson. So let's go see what we got. Okay, so let's go Control S. I'm assuming you've saved it to your desktop with an extension HTML. You do that once, simply hit File, Save, Control S. I'm just shortcutting. Anyway, good enough. Okay, let's go ahead, check our web page. What do we got? We've got this. Okay, sort of boring. Number one, first thing I want to talk about is, hey, that's pretty small text, and I hate the color white. So let's go ahead and change that. So let's go ahead and I'll talk about headings. So first one is H1. So these are headings. So H1. And what happens is H1 is the largest. So they have preset sizes in terms of text. We can control this later on, but for now we're just going to start with the basics. H1 is my first website, and maybe we'll do an H3 for pretty easy. H3 and then a slash H3. I want that pretty easy. And then maybe normal text. Normal text. Now again, they come from start from 1 all the way down to 6. So let's Control S, save it, shrink it down, and then refresh our web page, or F5, do it, or hit the refresh there. Okay, F5. Okay, so there you go. So now my first web page, the text is pretty big, pretty easy, is a little smaller, but still okay. It's a little bolder. You can see it a little more clear. Now again, we can go ahead and CSS and do all sorts of things with this stuff now. But we'll leave it here for now. H1 to H6. Okay, H1 through 6. Next thing I want to talk about is, well, man, background. It's just white, boring. So let's go ahead and do that. First thing we're going to talk about is to set a style for the body command. If we do this, it's called I'll start with an inline style. Okay. So let's go ahead here. What is an inline style? Okay, so what we're going to do is style, okay, I'm going to do is equal to background. And then let's go do with a basic color. Okay, what we're going to do is colon, and then whatever color you want, orange. And then I put a semicolon at the end of it. Okay, actually, you probably can get away with not even putting a semicolon on an inline style. Good enough. So, background I want is orange. Okay, so style is equal to background colon orange. There's a couple other older HTML commands. There's BG color. Sometimes if you see this out, I'll have my students encourage them, hey man, go out and check out other people's websites. BG color and background column dash color. But nowadays it's all been shortened up just simply to background. Good enough. So we'll start with the latest. Okay, Control S. Let's check out our website. And refresh. And then I've got my background color of orange. Okay, there's basically, well actually there's 4 ways to determine color. I'll start to go over them. First way is by color name. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, the easiest is, I believe, I'm not sure, you're going to quote me on this one. Go to Google here, HTML color name. You'll probably get the W3C school, HKR color name. Cool, done. Okay, there you go. Double color name. Click there. Okay, so what's going to happen here is you've got your color names. I forget how many. Oh, 140. For some reason that seems like I would have more. Anyway, next to it is simply the hex number for that color. Now there's a separate video where I talk about how I get binary to hex, and then really quickly, hex means the first 2 digits are red. Next one, next two digits are green, and the final 2 digits are blue. What's the pound sign there? That's simply telling the browser that this is not the letter H, It's the number, I mean not the letter H, the letter F, the number F, which in binary is 15. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, there's got color names. Then, hey, I want a shade of agua. Okay, so you go ahead, there you go. And then here you can obviously see the colors, lighter to darker, again with hex. Okay, and then obviously you can go ahead and mix these colors. So I want this to be mixed, so we'll just go over here, click mix, and then get it to go. There you go. I mix these two colors. You can see how the two colors create a gradient, and you can define your own, again, color in hex. So, let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back to my web page. So what I want to do, how do I do this in hex? So I simply put background rather than orange. I think you got hot pink, all the other colors you've got. The other option here is simply, again, hex. So # AF2312. God knows what that is, but we'll figure it out. Okay. So again, hey, let's go Control S before I start continuing. Control S, save it, refresh my website. I get sort of this reddish blue. Okay. So again, I can define it by hex. The other place you can do ahead and hey, I like to have different things on my web page. Okay. I want color patterns in it. So let's go ahead and I'll just go back to the, since I'm on the hex number. So the first one is to use HTML color names, W3C schools. The other one, just click on, let's get a Chrome browser up here, is Adobe Color Wheel. Okay. This allows me to say, look, I want various types of color combinations here. So let's click on Adobe Color Wheel. And the nice thing about here is I can start going nuts. I mean, I can go a type of color, color rule, binary, compound, shades. Obviously, I can go ahead and move them as I so choose. What kind of color, triad, custom. And the other thing is, so it'll give you your RGB and your hex. I haven't talked about hex. I haven't talked about RGB. I'll be talking about that in 2 minutes or so. Anyway, so it allows you to give you all the various types of options you want. Okay, and the other thing really quickly is Explore. I can go ahead and see what other people have done for websites on the internet. So again, as a general rule, people tend to be sort of horrible at color if you're a programmer. So it helps to steal from others. So anyway, go ahead here. You can upload them, download them, edit a copy of the color wheel. Then you can play games with it as you so choose. Okay. So let's go back to our HTML. So anyway, you got your HTML color names, and you got your Adobe Color Picker. You can find out any type of color using hex. Now I'm just going to quickly go over this. You don't see it that often. I'm going to go over the other two ways of doing it, of doing color. RGB. The advantage of this here is it's decimal. FF works out to be 255. Okay, 23 and 74. Okay, and then again you can do that. Control S. Video's running a little long, so I'm going to end this up pretty quickly. Control S, and then refresh it, and I get that color. Okay, and then finally, let's do one more, and I can end up on the color discussion. Is HSL. Okay, hue, saturation, HSL, hue, saturation, lightness. Really quickly, the first number is going to be the degree in the color wheel. Okay, guys. So maybe 250. Okay, and then the next two are simply going to be percentages. Okay, how much saturation, 90%, and how much lightness, 50%. And then parentheses, good to go. So Control S, let's refresh it, and I get, ooh, back white, not sure. Let's go back, double check. Mistake here. Let me see, I thought 250 was blue, but let me double check. Maybe I did too much lightness. Do I notepad? No, that's right. Background. HSL 250. Let's double check. I'm going to go here, delete the spaces here. Sometimes they tend to be a little bit finicky. about spaces. Okay, Control S, refresh. There you go. Okay, that was my mistake. Okay, my mistake was, okay, I didn't have so it doesn't like spaces here. It was comma and then a percent. Okay, guys, and then finally, before I finish this up, let's go back to Google, and we'll do HSL, color picker. Okay, there you go. We'll go here, HSL color picker. Again, the same sort of situation. This tells me the number, okay, and then you get RGB and hex here on this color picker, and then you can go ahead and select what you want. So sometimes, in theory, gradients are a little bit easier. Hue is your basic color, okay. The next one is a saturation. Saturation means 100% is full color. 0 basically means gray, okay. So you can here, I've picked this color. Now this would be 100%, and I get sort of this grayish gray. 0, and then really quickly the next value is simply the value, the amount of lightness. Okay, so if I'm at 0, I got complete black, and at 1 I get complete white. Okay, so for some people, certain programs are a little easier in terms of shading. VSL may be a color option for you. Okay, so the basics of color in HTML.